The Manifesto for Agile Software Delivery, Principles 3, 8, and 10. Now, once again, I've chosen several from the list of 12 because I think there is a common thread running through 3, 8, and 10. Principle 3 reads, deliver working software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with a preference to the shorter timescale. Now, that might not seem very revolutionary by today's standards, but think back to 2001 when this was written, where projects would run 1, 2, 3 years long, including software projects. If you were a Microsoft Office user, for example, you might get an update every couple of years and would often come on physical media. Well, the world has changed dramatically since then. At that time, though, delivering something working just a couple of weeks was quite a different way of thinking about that. Now, why is that important to us? Why is there a preference to the shorter time scale? Shorter timescales mean more frequent deliveries, which then translates into more frequent opportunities to verify that we're building the right things, to engage with our customer or our user, to continuously improve, to inspect and adapt techniques. Principle 8, I believe, is connected. Principle 8 reads, Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. So the connection I see there is that now you're shortening the time frame of delivery and you're expected to maintain that pace indefinitely. A couple of words in Principle 8 that deserve some attention. Sustainable development, we understand the concept about that, right? You can keep doing it. It's sustainable. It includes not just the people building, the developers, but also the sponsors and the users, because we recognize those other players need to be part of the delivery process overall. And finally, this idea of constant pace indefinitely. That's where I often get the most questions. Constant pace indefinitely almost sounds like a machine, like a factory. That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is consistency, reliability, repeatability. Now, we'll have another session on the concept of velocity, but if you're familiar with things like miles per hour, kilometers per hour, how about work per sprint or work per iteration, right? That's the idea of velocity. And when you're traveling on the road, you look historically back at your rate of progress and you use that to project your arrival time frame. Well, we do the same thing with our project work. We look back historically at the rate of delivery and we determine, is it reliable enough, consistent enough that we could then use that historical rate of delivery to project what our teams might do in the future. I think that's more of the spirit behind constant pace indefinitely. It also implies that there is some stability in the environment. Things aren't changing all the time in a negative way, adverse way, right? That's disrupting the team. Principle 10, I believe, is also connected. And this is probably the most confusing principle of the 12. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. The amount of work not done. The sentence structure is a little bit confusing, but I do think it makes sense. Now, again, go back to 2001. If you were involved with project work at that time, you might have worked in an environment where there was a phase in our project where we would collect the requirements. And there was a deadline when we would look to stop collecting requirements and then formally document them and refine them. By having a deadline where we close the door on new requirements, it sent a message to the rest of the organization that if you don't get your requests into this project before that door closes, you don't know when you're going to get it done. So our users, our sponsors, right, they would scramble to try to get as much into that project as they possibly could. which oftentimes resulted in a lot of bloat, a lot of work that went beyond the core mission of that project work. So what we're saying now is consider what you can remove, maximize what you're not going to do. And I can understand why the authors called this an art. It's certainly not a science. It takes a lot of discussion, negotiation, collaboration to try to figure that out. What's the core amount of effort that we need to expend to achieve the goal, to deliver the value that's expected? Now, think about an iterative environment. Think about working in iterations of maybe just a couple of weeks long. There's only so much work you can fit into 2 weeks. You're going to have to be thinking about where can we cut? Where can we get down to just the basic things, the minimal things that we need to deliver against the desired goal and bring value to the customer or the user? Well, I hope you see the same thread that I do running through these three. We have other sessions for the other principles of the Agile Manifesto. Check them out. Thanks for your time.